Mark Rizal Sarabia, and I will report to you a subtopic of utilitarianism. This subtopic is all about happiness as the foundation of morality. First things first, one of the great contributor of utilitarianism is John Stuart Mill. He is known for his writing on logical and scientific methodology and his voluminous essay on social and political life. He is also an English philosopher, economist, and exponent of utilitarianism. He was prominent as a publicist in the reforming age of 19th century and remains of lasting interest as a logician and an ethical theorist. He writes the creed which accepts as the foundation of moral utility or the greatest happiness principle, holds the action are morally right in proportion as they tend to produce happiness and wrong as they tend to produce the reverse of happiness. Mill defines the difference between higher and lower forms of pleasure with the principle that those who have experienced both tend to prefer one over the other. I will going to explain to you what is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a moral theory that grounds the righteousness or wrongness of an act based on its effect rather than on the act per se. Utilitarianism is also one of the most powerful and persuasive approach to normative ethics in the history of philosophy. Utilitarianism is also an ethical theory that states that the best action is that one that maximizes utility. Utilitarian principle emphasize on welfare, benefit, and good of the majority. The issues that are needed to be concerned in the principle, which is the fact that there is a growing gap between the rich and the poor, that tells us that there is something wrong with it. Utilitarianism as a political theory has demanded the customs and authorities which had oppressed people for centuries be tested against standard of human improvement. And that is all the report for the subtopic happiness as the foundation of morality.
Hello everyone, I'm going to report the utilitarian calculus. So, utilitarianism judges the righteous and wrongness of an act through a utilitarian calculus or the measurement of pleasures or happiness. So, Jeremy Bentham proposed the 7 elements of the principle of utility. First is the intensity or degree of pleasure. Second is the duration or the length of time one experiences the pleasure. Third is probability or the most certain effect is what is desired. Fourth is the proximity or the frequency of the pleasure. The next is the quantity or the capability to result to more pleasure. Next is purity or the absence of painful counter effects. And lastly, the extent or the experience or more people can experience the pleasure. So John Stuart Mill improved and suggested that they are only crudely based on the quantitative measure of human pleasure. So he proposed the importance of knowing the quality of one's happiness. He explained that happiness or pleasure should not only be about quantity or the amount of pleasure. It also matters what kind of pleasure or happiness one gains. For Mill, the foundation of utilitarian morality is that an act must produce the greatest amount of pleasure or happiness and minimize and, if possible, eliminate pain or suffering. So he emphasizes that human enjoyment or satisfaction should be both in terms of quantity and quality. That's all. Thank you.
Hello everyone. This is just an overview about what categorical imperative is. So first, let's define what is categorical imperative. Categorical imperative is the act for the sake of duty only. For Kant, he argues that the categorical imperative is the only way to good act. For example, one should help an old lady across the road simply because it is a good thing to do, not because it will make you feel good. Even if a good act makes you feel good, it is not a reward. It is just a bonus according to Kant. So overall, categorical imperative is to act for the sake of duty only.
The report is all about act and rule utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is an ethical theory that the best action is the one that maximizes the utility. It is the results or consequences of our actions that treats intentions as irrelevant. Utilitarianism is a person's act is morally right and only if it is produced it at least as much happiness as any other act that the person could perform at that time. It is the defined happiness as pleasure and the absence of pain. Utilitarianism is a version of the theory that says we ought to live by the rules in general are likely to lead the greatest good for the greatest number.
Obligation, it is done imperative. It is your duty to fulfill the work or task embedded in yourself. Because being true to a duty results fulfillment of one ought to do so, because otherwise one would not be true to the nature of one's work calls for a person to act on the basis of the demands of one's political position. A person also do things in order to give the value presence of another person. For example, a father who gives value to his child, which has the obligation to the child. The act is done not on the basis of rational principle of doing what is good, but rather one does something simply for the sake of the other. Question: if the person to do these things to stranger, does he or she will refuse or not? The answer: he then refuse. Why? Because a stranger remains same stranger, and one is unknown and unimportant, and giving value to that person could not be valuable to the person who give value to those stranger. But the thing is, if this person give kindness, attention, and care to a stranger that is not an obligation to or duty, then it is love. Because to reach out others means to go beyond the demand of one's person or status in society and act precisely as a being for another.
Hi, I'm Jam Sadok, member of Group 2. My report is about moral autonomy. For Kant, humans are autonomous beings. Human action in this regard should be free from the influences of outside factors. It can be said that outside objects can influence the way people act. The environment can affect the behavior of people in the way they make their judgments. For Kant, a moral judgment should be free from the dictates of outside factors or influences. In this sense, autonomy means self-rule. The self, being autonomous, decides for its own good. Morality, which for Kant proceeds from such autonomy, implies self-regulation. He adds, autonomy then is the basis of the dignity of the human and of every rational nature. Although the conception of duty implies subjection to the law, we yet ascribe a certain dignity and sublimity to the person who fulfills all his duties. The individual performs the moral out in accordance to the inner law of the will. For Kant, autonomy in the property of the will. The will is the law by itself. The will legislates for itself. Thus, the autonomy of the will provides the moral agent the capacity to legislate the moral law within. Since the moral law comes from within, a person is morally required to do the good accordingly. Otherwise, the individual violates his capacity for self-rule.
To discuss to you my topic, which is all about moral duty. Moral duty is just like an obligation. An obligations that we need to do or to follow if it is the right thing. Moral duty is all about doing what is the right thing to do because you ought this thing to do. For example, you are a doctor and you have two patients that came at the same time. Your first patient is the VIP one, which, let me say, a person that has a greater value in this world. And the second patient is just no one or nobody, the total opposite of the first patient. If you are a doctor, what is the right thing to do? So, your moral duty as a doctor, you don't have to choose between these two, because as a doctor, you ought to save all your patients, no matter how rich they are, how famous they are, or what is their value in this world. That's okay. It's all. And as what Immanuel Kant said, a person who always does their duties is a good person. So, always do your duty. That's all. Thank you.
Individual preference. Will you sacrifice for good? Yes or no? Then, there is a conflict since persons are not indifferent as to how greater benefits produced by their collaboration are distributed, for in order to pursue their needs, they each prefer a larger to a lesser share. Rawls said. If you sacrifice for good, then our preferences may not be good to others. But you should always think about the greatest happiness for the greatest number will result to good. Because utilitarianism underestimates the power of the ego of the individual. If this utilitarianism overpowered our ego, then it will find for satisfaction. The question was asked, is it possible to satisfy a human being? No. Because human beings are not satisfied easily. They always find a way to be satisfied more. Because Rawls said, if satisfaction is the basis of morality, then it is doomed to fail. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is just an overview about what maximum utility is. When we talk about maximum utility, it is the greatest good for the greatest number. Maximum utility lies in the possibility of sacrificing one individual for the sake of satisfaction of the majority.